Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue Board of Directors meeting for Thursday, October 16th, 2025. So we are now in session. Announcement, meeting is being streamed live on Central Coast YouTube channel, and anyone has public comments or questions, they can comment on the live stream, and questions will be relayed to the board members and answered at the end of the meeting. Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Here.
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 Is excused.
Excused. All right. And before we move on, Eric has some things to say.
I added closed captioning to further our ADA compliance. I added closed captioning, so I don't know if it's working, but and I won't know until after the meeting because I can't see it. So unless I pull up my phone, which I might do here in a minute. But if you can, when you're talking, don't try to talk clearly. I do the same thing. If you mumble or bump the mic, if you mumble or stutter or anything, because it's doing it automatically and on the fly. So, but I thought we'd try it out on this meeting and see if it works. I don't know if it'll work, but I wanted to say that to the public too, that if it doesn't make sense at the bottom, that's why.
Enunciate and articulate.
Yes.
So what you're saying is that it will put a bunch of special characters. Never mind.
It might.
All right. Approval of the minutes. Everybody get a chance to look them over?
Yep.
Yes.
I motion we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Motion carries. Citizen participation.
There's nothing online.
All right. Reports.
Oh, that would be me. Let's start. I always forget that. I've been working on the bays. I changed all the lighting out last week, and I've got two of the doors done. It'll be done tonight, the opener part. PWA's door, Bay 1, is completely done and working, and everybody seems to love it. The new lights, instead of just LED bulbs, I put them on the ceiling, and they're actual LEDs, so it'll actually, instead of having, I think there's 20 fixtures out there with ballasts all running, because that's actually what uses the electricity, is the ballast in those, not the bulb. So all those have been gone, so hopefully maybe we'll see some savings on our electric bill from having lights on. I'm also going to automate it to where when we get a call, just like these turn red, when we get a call, it'll turn the front bay lights on, so even at night it won't be dark when they, PWA or our crew can go ripping out to the bay. So, and then after so many minutes of the door being closed, they'll just automatically turn back off. So other than that, that's kind of what I've been working on.
My turn. I don't really have much, other than I did get the new, HR Answers has released the new handbook, so I'll send that to you.
Thank you.
I did come up with a kind of segregation of duties policy that you can maybe kind of, I'll send that to you too, because I know you're kind of working on all that, to maybe include just for keeping me from being too responsible, but keeping you guys apprised of things going on the financial side. So Brett and I have been working together on getting stuff transferred over and stuff, so and communicating. So I think we'll be ready November 1st, I hope. So we'll see. There's something else I was going to tell you guys, and I don't remember what, so I'll think of it later. And then on the volunteer side, tomorrow is our last bingo of the year. It's our big Halloween party jackpot. It is sold out, has been sold out for about a week and a half. So hopefully, somebody's gonna win the jackpot, we'll see who. And then costume contests and stuff like that, so. I think that was it. Anything, Union? You're next.
Yeah, from the union, I just want to ask you guys, I know we're going to be coming into negotiations in January. Have you guys come up with a committee yet? Who's going to?
We have not.
No, well, they just mentioned it at the last meeting,
Yeah,
so
and I'm not
we haven't.
expecting you to, but I just
Yeah.
want to keep this in you guys' minds to
Mhm.
know that we got this coming up.
I think in our November meeting, we will sound that off.
Yeah, because I don't, Rick's not here right now,
Right.
and
And, yeah, and there's a lot of just other things.
Like I said, we have until January. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not in a hurry. I just
Yeah.
want to keep this in your guys' minds as well.
Okay.
Would you like me to add it to the November agenda?
Yes, please.
yeah.
You'll need to do it in November because we don't have a December meeting.
Right.
Right.
Typically.
All right, finance report. So,
What about committee reports?
oh, committee report.
Thought you'd just gloss right over that.
Throw right over that. So, committee report. We had I think, a very good meeting on the consolidation merger with the committee members from Yahats. I think, what was made clear from their side is, there's definitely a willingness and understanding that that's ultimately where we need to be. They want to take a little bit of a slower approach, and, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because 2026 is a non-levy year for both of the districts. And then the other aspect of that is to to get that ball rolling as far as the whole idea of working as one, is to develop a 190 agreement that will provide for the bits and pieces that we want to have in place. And then when that vote does go to the public, and if it comes back affirmative that they want one larger district, then we essentially, from a day in, day out, nuts and bolts kind of a thing, we've already have established that foundation going forward. So, and then to follow that up, Judy wasn't available Monday, but Chief and I went down to Yahats's board meeting this past Monday, and it came up, and in the process from our meeting to going down there on Monday, mostly Chief kind of got mush-brained by having long conversations with a gentleman I connected him with in the Department of Revenue that explained in very detailed fashion exactly what happens whether you are with the money, whether you are
It seems like it would be an average, because it kind of seems like 51's kind of right in the middle, but it's not. There is a mathematical formula that whoever came up with it, wow. But
exactly.
there is a formula that gets you there. It is multiple steps, and it takes, starting with the total district values, break them down to assessed values, break them down into, each entity, and then adding them back together, dividing by a magical factor, and you end up with this number. I have it all written down on a document that I can print out and hand out. I'm kind of just holding on to it until there's a invitation for any level of presentation, whether it's to the boards together, to each independent board, or to the committees. I am trying not to bring information unless asked at this point, because that is not my place in this process. So unless I'm asked to do something, and I had that conversation with the board president earlier today, if you want me to do something in this process, I need to be asked to do it. It cannot be something that I just insert myself into as the fire chief. This is, the committee is higher than me.
So based on that, based on our conversations down there and what Judy and I have been doing, so the next step is, from a committee standpoint, is we're gonna have a follow-on meeting. I'm gonna reach out to them. I know this is like the end of the month is crunch. We've got a lot of things going on, but I wanna find a day sometime between the last week of October and the first week of November, and, you know, basically before their next board meeting, and have us get together. What I'd like to be able to take to them, based on the information that they provided both in our meeting and then at their own board meeting, is for us to, I'd like to, you know, essentially make a motion to direct chief to start the process of rough drafting, one, updating the presentation so that we can provide that at our next, you know, have you come in at our next committee meeting. But then also, take the steps to put a document together that will be the foundational document for the 190 agreement. Because part of that is going to be us having, we're gonna both have to go to SDAO, and the first thing SDAO is gonna do is say, you guys need to sign the waivers because you're both represented, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanna get all of that kind of groundwork stuff done. It does two things. One, I think it shows to our constituency that we're listening and that we are moving forward with a workable plan that gives us, if we need it, it gives us pretty much up until November of next year to get a ballot to the public. And in a more immediate sense, it provides the framework for the two districts to be operating more on the same level as a single entity.
And we can enter into the 190
Yes.
now, or, you know, in the immediate future with the,
Right.
yeah.
And, you know, and that would be with, you know, having Yahats, obviously on their side would
Yeah.
have to come on
Right,
board with
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And there will be language in there, is that at any point along the way, if either or decides, hey, this isn't, you know, there's too many obstacles, whatever, you know, whatever could potentially come out of it, we each have the ability to come back to the table through the committee and say, hey, you know, we need to take a pause, whatever. Or, you know, like I've been asked so many times, you know, Seal Rock could literally come up and say, hey, you know, we've been rethinking it and we'd like to kind of get into the mix. Well, then that would require, you know, once we get past all of, you know, those steps, that would require having them be added into that process. And, you know, if they so desired to want to look down that path. So I think I need a motion to give, especially to work with the lawyers and the attorneys and stuff to get that going from a rough draft standpoint.
I move to authorize the chief to begin the process for coming up with a rough draft of a 190 agreement, so that we can work with Yahats and yes, it will probably involve contacting the attorneys. I'm sure, like he said, there will have to be a waiver signed, you know, for both parties and so on, but yes, go ahead and begin the
Okay.
process.
Have a second?
That's my motion.
second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to give Chief the green light to start on the 190 agreement and talk to the attorneys as needed. And then obviously, they'll probably have a whole raft of things they'll want us to know about, so.
Yep.
So can I get all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Motion passed.
Yay.
Now we'll do the financial report. And
Brett submitted the financials for September. It looks like he did a more kind of in-depth one, just to give you kind of everything. I think he usually narrows it down a little bit, but just so you can kind of see where we're at before the changeover.
I reviewed it and didn't have any immediate questions on anything.
And next month I'll stumble my way through one.
yeah. All right. Can I get a motion to accept the report?
I make a motion to accept the, financial report and to pay the bills.
I'll second.
Been moved in second to accept the report and pay the bills. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Resolutions, or,
Old business.
yeah,
I think we actually need to do the old business before we do the resolution.
yeah, this particular resolution, I
Yes,
think, has
because
to be,
that-
okay.
yeah, it would-
So old business,
Yeah, that's not a financial resolution.
Hmm?
That's not a financial resolution.
No.
no,
No, that's the NHMP,
That
Yeah.
would be different.
okay. So, under old business, NHMP,
Yeah, did everybody get a chance to review it?
Mhm.
Did anybody have any issues with the information that was presented?
Nope.
Okay, so then we just need to approve it and sign the resolution so that they can add our particular addendum into the overall plan, and then they can get the overall plan approved as updated. These are requirements. And a month before
So the
FEMA might start.
the advantages of us being added to the plan.
If FEMA doesn't shut down and their grants come back, then it'll be one of the requirements.
Right.
For instance, when we were trying to get the grant to, rebuild the station up out of the tsunami zone, we were working with FEMA and Oregon Emergency Management for that. We were required to be in that plan as part of the requirements to be eligible for even applying for that grant. They gave us the okay to apply for it because we could show record that we were not only participating in the update, but adding our addendum into the update. So they gave us the okay, because otherwise we would have missed the dates.
Right.
Of course, a few months later, that portion of the grants got shut down, along with many other divisions that have slowly been cut out of FEMA. And so if, like I said, depending on what happens in the future, if FEMA goes away, then we're gonna have a really good addendum and a really good plan, just in case.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
mitigation plan. Whereas the District of Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue recognizes the threat that natural hazards pose to people, property, and infrastructure within our community, and whereas undertaking hazard mitigation actions will reduce the potential for harm to people, property, and infrastructure from future hazard occurrences, and whereas adopted natural hazards mitigation plan is required as a condition of future funding for mitigation projects under multiple FEMA pre- and post-disaster mitigation grant programs, and whereas the District of Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue has fully participated in the FEMA prescribed mitigation planning process to prepare the Lincoln County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan, which has established a comprehensive coordinated planning process to eliminate or minimize these vulnerabilities, and whereas the District of Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue has identified natural hazard risks and prioritized a number of proposed actions and programs needed to mitigate the vulnerabilities of the District of Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue to the impacts of future disasters within the Lincoln County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan, and whereas these proposed projects and programs have been incorporated into the Lincoln County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan that has been prepared and promulgated for consideration and implementation by the participating cities and special districts of Lincoln County, and whereas the Oregon Department of Emergency Management and Federal Emergency Management Agency, Region X officials have reviewed the Lincoln County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan and pre-approved it contingent upon this official adoption of the participating governments and entities, whereas NHMP is in an ongoing cycle of development and revision to improve its effectiveness, and whereas the District of Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue adopts the NHMP and the board directs the fire chief to develop, approve, and implement the mitigation strategies and any administration changes to the NHMP. Now therefore it be resolved that the District of Central Oregon Coast and Fire and Rescue adopts the Lincoln County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan in an official plan, and be it further resolved that the District of Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue will submit this adoption resolution to the Oregon Department of Emergency Management and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, Region X officials to enable final approval of the Lincoln County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan, adopted on the 16th day of October, 2025.
Actually, I think it's Region
It's Region 10,
10. It's Region 10,
Roman.
not, it's the Roman numeral.
Yeah, no, Region 10, Region X. I like Region X. So, anyway. As noted.
I move to adopt resolution number 2025-08 as read.
Second it.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. For the record, I like the financial ones because they're a lot shorter.
We didn't write that, we just filled in the blanks.
Yeah.
It came to us.
I'm impressed.
But I'll be sure the first one I write's really, really long for you.
It's really long.
Just wait till you get to the budget resolution.
At least there's only one this time. All right. New business.
No new business.
No new business. Chief's report.
All right, so speaking of FEMA, still no awards posted for any of the AFG grants. I don't know if we're gonna see those, honestly. One of the things I noticed when I was getting the recruits set up for doing some online training is that all of the FEMA pages all have disclaimers on them that they're not gonna be updated, they're not gonna be maintained due to restrictions and financial cuts and et cetera, et cetera. So, at this point, I'm not really sure what FEMA's doing, but,
Well,
They're-
they're shut down right now.
yeah, so the pages are still up, but, and they seem to be functional so far. 3 of the recruits have completed their hazardous materials training so far, but, so they're still functional to a degree. But, yeah, they all just have disclaimers saying they're here, but, you know, we're not gonna do much with them, so I don't know if we're gonna see AFG or not. It would be nice if maybe this last round we could finally get a truck and an exhaust system would be great, so, but we'll see. Nothing coming down from, federal on the Congresswoman Hoyle's, projects. So we're just still waiting to hear, kind of in the same boat, like, I'm not sure if the money is gonna be there or not based off all the cuts that we're seeing. So, we did get a $5,000 grant from the Ford Family Foundation for the academy. They sponsored the academy. So that bought the textbooks, it's buying some of the students' clothing. It pays for the students and the instructors' lunches on Saturdays, so we don't have to worry about sending them anywhere or or them having to bring food or go buy food or anything like that. And it's covered, some of their, like their safety glasses and other small things that we wrote into the grant, and it bought a, training dummy for the academy to be able to use for our scenarios, so that was good. Very, very thankful for the Ford Memory Foundation for, awarding us with our second grant so far. Their first grant was, they paid for, the majority of the jet dog, so that was our first grant from them. We put in a grant through the Leary Foundation for a new PPV, battery-operated PPV fan. I don't know when we hear about that. I'm not sure what the deadline is on that one, so we'll keep you informed as we hear about it. Next week, we should get the yay or nay on a grant that we put in through the Siletz Tribal Charitable Contribution Fund. I put in for PPE, and it is a matching grant, so I put 5,000 matching towards it. We are gonna need to buy some PPE. Our PPE has a shelf life. If we don't start buying it in waves, then we're gonna get hit with a lump sum. And if you guys, I know Greg was around when we did the last lump sum. That was a pretty big grant that we got lucky with.
Yeah.
To be able to do that, so. If we don't have a grant for it, then that's gonna be very costly when we start getting to expired gear. So we need to start planning on that phase out over the next 5 years. I did get an email from, OSFM that the money from California did arrive at OEM, and so it is going and clearing their bank. As soon as it clears their bank, then they'll start cutting checks to all of us. They're saying, expect to see the checks in the next 2 weeks. So that's about, if I remember right, about $90,000 that's coming to us for the California fire. So that's gonna be very helpful, because we've been floating that 90,000 since January when we sent the crews to that fire, so. We do not have any surplus. The canopy sold last week, so it's finally gone, and that ended up all the surplus we currently had at this time. The mitigation plan, you guys just approved that, so that's done. That was 2 years worth of work, I think,
In several meetings, yeah.
for that, yeah. So I'm glad to see that being done finally. Academy started, Tuesday night. We had, 7 for Central Coast, 7 recruits for Central Coast, 1 recruit for Newport. Today, 1 of our 7, dropped out due to scheduling conflicts, and so we're at 6 for Central Coast and 1 for Newport. So, smaller class, but still good turnout, and, they all seem pretty eager to go, so we'll see how long we can keep that up for. We're not gonna use the college campus because it's such a small group. This room easily accommodates that, so we're just gonna stay training here, and then we may go up to the high school for some of our hands-on portions where there's more hydrants and more space to pull hose out, but it'll all be in the evenings, long after school is out of session and any sports stuff that's going on, so. We'll notify them on days that we're going up there as they've requested, but it shouldn't interfere with any of the school's activities, so. Bay doors, if you noticed when you pulled past the station today, half of the bay doors are up, and they already look way better than the old doors did. I'm really excited and impatiently waiting for that, as he knows.
He came out to the bay, he goes, why did you start on the lighting first?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to, get it all done.
Yeah, no, I want the doors. I'm tired of looking at the mixed colored doors and mixed panel doors. And it just doesn't look good. And then the next thing is I can't wait for all that brick to get replaced.
I'm gonna start with, removal, so I kept some of the, beams from, Tidewater, the big old beams that were, actually, they use them as choice basically, but they're, 6x12s, they're absolutely enormous. I kept a bunch of them and I've had them, and I'm gonna take from basically the door brick down, all the way down, I'm gonna belt sand them all off, and then torch burn them, seal them, and then to start that process of brick, I'm gonna take all of that brick down and put those beams, stand them upright between the posts so that it'll start to you know, then we'll quit having a 4x4 post out one side and missing brick down here, and they'll all be kind of uniform, at least clean the front of it up a little bit. So,
Nice.
So they look a lot better when you drive by. It won't be such an eyesore anymore. Well, as much, anyway. So, and then lastly, I just, so our district guidelines, I went through this week and cleaned them up, kind of because, not only because it's overdue, but also because the recruits have a requirement to go through all the guidelines, and then after they've read them all, they have to sign a paper attesting that they've read them and any questions they had were answered. And so I went through, cleaned them up. It was kind of a little bit surprising to see how many of them still had the Central Coast and Seal Rock markers at the top of them from back when we had the 190 agreement in place. And still astonishing to think that somebody over there thought that that was part of the 190 agreement, that 400-something page guidelines was part of that, so. But it's all cleaned up, it's all Central Coast now, and the next phase is gonna be updating them, because it's been about 4 years since they've last been updated. So that's gonna be coming up next for operational, so. And good timing, because if there are any of them that reference policy or that policy references those, it's a good time, since we're gonna be going through and cleaning up policies, to deal them together anyway. So that's one of the other projects I've got working on right now, so, along a list of many others. Any questions for my report?
Now, those need to come to the board for approval?
Those are
Not-
operational.
Okay, those are operational, okay,
Yes.
good.
Those are the guidelines that we use for if you respond on a house fire, here
Right,
is the recommended steps that you would take.
okay.
There
I was
is,
just
there is
remem-
stuff that I'm sending to Judy for the actual policy book, because she's helping update
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'm letting her fully just take that.
There are sections in the guidelines that will reference, especially like the driving portions, that will reference policies on, you know, if you get in an accident, our policy is you have to go get tested because you were in a fire truck when there was an accident, you know. So there are parts where I was saying that there are references back and forth. However, these are operational guidelines, so they do
Right.
not go past the fire chief
Yeah.
level.
Yeah, okay. I was just remembering the reams of SOGs that we had to review, and,
So before I came, your SOGs and your policies were all mixed in together.
yep, one giant document.
And it was so hard
Mhm.
to get through any
Yeah.
of them. And so when I got here, one of the first things I did was I separated them back out so that you clearly had your policies and then you clearly had guidelines.
Yeah.
And people weren't trying to figure out why.
Whether it was a policy or a guideline.
Yeah, why one page talked about how to deal with a wire down, and then the next page talked about how to deal with employees directly, so. that's a-
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
How about the sign? I thought I read something where someone kicked the sign. Did we ever get that fixed?
Yeah, it's fixed. I fixed it the same day.
Okay.
So I talked to Abby Dorsey, the deputy, and she gave me the guidelines as where that post came from. So that I was hoping somebody would step forward and just say, hey, you know, because.
No one did?
No one did, but, because it could have potentially, if we wanted to, and we just kind of let it go, since I was able to fix it in-house, it could have potentially been really bad for somebody, so we were hoping they would step forward, but it's okay, we'll just let that
This
one
is the sheriff's
ride.
portion of the sign.
Yeah, it was honestly the sheriff's portion of the sign too, and if we had to buy a new one, that's over $1,000, so,
And they paid for that one.
yeah, and they paid for it, so it would have, but because of the damage was over that, it turns into a felony, and so it could have been very bad for him, but like I said, I just kind of brushed it away, and I was hoping they'd come forward and just pay for my time, but they obviously didn't, so.
Gorilla glue. Gorilla glue.
It's not quite Gorilla Glue, but yeah.
All righty. Good of the order.
Well, I hope bingo goes well tomorrow night with a full house and somebody
be
walks
fun.
home with a Decent jackpot.
What's it up to right now?
1167.
That's like almost a tank of gas right there.
Yeah,
So,
we cut it off before it gets to 1,200 because
Right.
at 1,200, we have to do paperwork,
Yeah, right.
so.
It's not just us, whoever wins it has
Yeah.
to do a bunch too, so.
and I know we're busy, and it's October, middle of October, and we've got one more meeting in November, and then we're basically off in December, and you guys are doing Academy. But I would like people to put their heads together, and it doesn't need to be a long one, but I think we should have some kind of a workshop meeting where we can put down and memorialize some of the annual goals that we're, like we're going through all of the policy, and, some of the,
Actually, goal setting a lot of times happens in January because it's also part of the budget process.
Okay.
So we might, I'm not discounting your idea at all. I'm just saying that.
It's just we haven't done,
Right. But that
we
would-
really didn't do one, I don't believe, this past January.
No, I don't think
just
we
sort of
did,
like
but
rolled through.
I
Well, we
think-
had other things going on, but,
that would give Chief plenty of time to come up with the,
Okay.
the list.
I
And
just
then
don't wanna
we'll
lose-
also have costs involved because, or estimated costs involved for
Right.
various things too.
I just don't want us to, we have a lot going on, and I don't want us to lose track of things like, like Charlie brought this up tonight, it's like, I completely forgot about, oh yeah, we should be having a conversation about
We can, there's a couple differences here. We can have, action items section on the agenda, that just reminds us to talk about certain tasks. And then
I like
there's
that
goal
idea.
setting. Goal setting, it's good to have the goal setting, always good to have a goal setting session. I think the reason we didn't have one this year is because we've had plenty to have to do.
Mhm.
So it's not like we're looking for things to set as goals. We've already got many goals that we're trying to finish.
Right.
And so, yeah, we can put together a workshop, whether it's before January or in January, where we go over not only setting some new goals, but also getting a good tracking sense on what we're currently trying to accomplish also.
Yeah, and I think honestly, the bottom line for me is as long as we as a group and as an organization feel that our day-to-day has more of a proactive feel to it as opposed to a reactive feel that we've lived in for the last however many years.
Right.
That's the goal, is that
So,
we're staying on top of what we're doing, and we actually have a little bit of air
Yeah.
that we can look out to the future a little bit.
so piggybacking on that, for good of the order also, I would like to ask for the board's approval to do a cost summary analysis of the Five Rivers Station and what it is costing us to maintain and keep that station in existence versus what that region that it protects is bringing into the district. One of the posts by our wonderful Mr. Holt, who beat us by 1 week of our landscapers getting out there, posted a bunch of pictures of the vegetation that had grown, like it does all the time. And
Last time out there,
a
it wasn't
bunch
that
of
bad.
a bunch of his typical speech of vengeance against us, that, how dare we do this or that. And it's led me to have a realization that that building is costing us a lot of money and doesn't bring us a lot of benefit. What it brings is benefit to the community out there who get lower tax rates because of its existence. But a fire truck hasn't responded out of that building since my time as a fire chief and long before my time as a fire chief, because we can't get people to volunteer out there, no matter what we do, flyers, door-to-door campaigns, anything. So I would like to know, and it's not something that I have the authority to do myself without the approval of the board, I would like to know if the board approves and would like me to do a cost summary benefit of that station and see what it's costing us versus what it's making.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that, the only, and maybe it's gonna be a part of your process, but one of the line items obviously has to be is what is within that 5-mile circle, what is the impact to the population?
Yes, that'll be part of it.
That's part of it.
You know, as far as, you know, besides what it's actually costing us to,
No, that would be included
okay.
in that summary, in that analysis.
Well, frankly, I think that's a pretty good idea,
Yeah.
because, I mean, we have had, over the years, it's been, you know, how much it would cost to get electricity to the building, and the whole maintenance and upkeep and so on, and generator
Yeah,
and fuel and.
It costs us money to have landscapers go out there every quarter.
Mhm.
It costs us money, you know, to keep buying the traps and everything to keep the pest control.
Mhm.
It's costing us money to keep the fuel tank filled for
Yeah.
the propane system that
Yeah.
keeps the building heated during the winter, especially. It's costing us money to maintain the trucks that are out there,
Yeah.
especially because they don't go anywhere. They sit and rot. So,
Yeah.
we've got 2 trucks out there. They are in service, and they do get checked regularly, despite what somebody thinks. And that costs, you know, Eric's time to go out there, because it's 20 miles out. And it costs fuel every time we start them up, and then have to let them run for 20 minutes so that they get a good run time for sitting for a week. And so, you know, all of that is money. And if those trucks are not going anywhere, and those trucks are not showing up on fires, and those trucks are carrying thousands of feet of hose and SCBA's and hand tools and foam and everything else, that's all it costs to the district.
Well, and it's not that we wouldn't respond out to that area, because we respond to that area.
We
It's
do,
just,
but
you
we
know,
respond from either the Tidewater
Right,
Station or here,
right.
because that's where people are.
Yeah.
We don't have any people out at Five Rivers.
That's basically what I'm saying, is, you
So
know,
it would have to be a lucky chance that somebody happened to be driving by and had their PPE, which they're not allowed to do. They're not allowed to take their PPE home with them. So it would have to be this really bizarre situation where somebody happened to be out there. It'd be Eric out there checking the trucks, and there happened to be a call.
Mhm.
You know, that would
Right.
be the most common time that a truck would roll out of Five Rivers.
Yeah.
So,
And ultimately, in this whole process of evaluation, it sounds like to me at least anyway, that there's a couple of pieces of equipment that would be suitable for accessing.
yeah. If we didn't have to have that station, if we didn't have to have that ISO requirements, we wouldn't have to have that pumper and that tender sitting out there,
Right,
because there would be no requirement for it.
right.
Okay. I mean, do we need to,
I think we can certainly I make a motion to have Jamie check into do a cost analysis on the Five Rivers Station.
It just brings us information. It doesn't
Yep.
make any decisions or
Right.
anything. It's just gonna bring us the
Yep.
information to make whether or
that's
not
why I'm
we want to
thinking,
make.
literally, that's why I was thinking, I don't know that we need a motion, because I think that falls under operations. I think he has
Oh,
the
okay, well,
authority as the chief.
I can certainly withdraw my motion and
No,
just
but I
let.
mean-
No,
Because I honestly do
I'm
believe that.
asking for a motion,
Oh, he
because
is
I want
asking.
the board's approval and backing to do this, so it doesn't look like I'm just doing it because I'm
Okay.
retaliating against.
Okay, I
something that's
reinstate my
other.
motion.
And I'll second. So now we have a first and second.
It's been moved and seconded to have Chief Mason do a cost analysis on Five Rivers.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
We will get it done.
Anything else?
Nope, not for me.
All right, it is 4:45, and we are adjourned.
Still have